Welcome back to Leah's Lifestyle or Leah's Adventure, depending on if you're here with me on Twitch or on YouTube. Today we're reading rule number 1, and we are back at it. Ooh. We are back at reading it on the Kindle on my computer. There we go. 35%, page 109 of 324. Third way through. Let's get reading. I'm excited. Especially if it's only going to take us a couple weeks to read this book. Floop, yeah, guys. Okay. Let's start. How reliable is past growth and predictable in predicting the future? One last thing before we move on. Just because the big five were good in the past, it doesn't always mean they'll be good in the future. Almost every business ends in its long streak of big five numbers at some point. Maybe it runs out of people to sell goods and services to, or maybe some competitor swims the moat and starts attacking the castle. Maybe the entire industry becomes obsolete. Past growth rates alone are not good enough to predict the future, which is why rule number 1 investors don't rely only on past growth rate to make a prediction. Remember, the first M, meaning, if the business has no meaning to you, i.e. you don't understand it, even if the big five numbers don't say anything, you can't invest your retirement money in anything you don't understand and has no meaning to you on some level, okay? But in addition to protecting ourselves by understanding the business, we've got to run it through a few more critical tests to make sure that even if we do make a big mistake, we don't violate rule number 1. Constant growth rates and a solid ROIC allow us to put this business forward as a candidate for our approval. At least with good historical consistency, we can hope for a steady future based on the expectations that the business will continue to do what it's been doing. We can continue investing in Garmin because it has a stable past. In GM's case, it has a persistently bad past. Hoping that GM will stop doing what it's been doing and becoming a completely different business requires too much faith in GM's claim that it sees a bright future for itself. In the early days, back in the 1980s, I got a lesson in how important it is to have numbers that back up the moat. Identifying moats can be a subjective process, which means inexperienced investors like me at the time can be sold a great story that makes it seem like the business has a moat, when in fact it doesn't. I got sold on a story about what a terrific secret moat a certain company that shall remain nameless had. Their technology was trade secret and totally over my head science, but it really made for a compelling and convincing story. The business allegedly had experienced management and fantastic scientists, and best of all, it was out to change the world in a major way. Suffice it to say, I completely bought into the buzz surrounding this business. The lesson? Don't get sold on a story. Good intentions and attention-grabbing details aren't enough to make a good rule number 1 investment, because there's nothing certain about a nice story. You have to go behind it and find the numbers to back it up. Only outstanding long-term big five numbers can provide the certainty you need to be sure you're not going to lose money. You can read fairy tales in every annual report, but you can't stop there. This business that I bought into had problems with its technology. Then it had problems with marketing, and even problems with management, all of which were showing up in the numbers. But in the end, the power of following the rule saved me. That investment turned out okay, because even though the big five numbers weren't great, I'd gotten in with a huge margin of safety, which I'll explain later. For now, the lesson is to identify the moat. and be certain that the big five are there to back up the story. Now, to the people running the show. If we've gotten this far, the CEO is going to be the final determining factor for whether we really want to own this company. The CEO determines the focus of the company, the happiness of the people working there, and ultimately the ROI, return on investments. We're going to get when we buy the whole thing. CEOs who stick to their knitting and who focus on what they do well are, well, the right CEOs for us. We're covered, meaning, and moat to a great extent. And the next chapter tells you how to find Mr. or Mrs. Right, which brings us to our third M, management. Chapter 7. Floop, yeah! We made it! That's right. I don't even think we know how many chapters are in here, but we made it to chapter 7. And I think the good thing about that is we've been pretty much sticking up to the same point of what we need to do. Maybe we should have still researched yesterday, but we didn't, and that happens. Okay. Bet on the jockey. Do not hire a man who does your work for money, but him who does it for love of it. Henry David Thoreau, 1817-1862. Remember what we're doing. We're looking at stocks as businesses. We're looking for a wonderful business, and we're insisting we buy it at an attractive price. Having a wide moat is a critical part of a wonderful business, because a wide moat business can recover from lots of disasters, even though credited by bad management decisions. Still, it'd be nice to know that the people running the company really have their act together and thus deserve to run it. Not that they got the top just because they were politically clever. This brings us to the third M, management. We might have to settle for politicios to run the government, but we don't have to settle for those types to run our businesses. We can insist on people we respect, trust, admire, and otherwise wish were part of our family unit. The sad truth is, it isn't hard to be fooled by politicians and other crooks who are disguised as honest and hard-working business people. But if you follow a few tips in this chapter, you will have a good chance of spotting the self-involved, unethical, prevaricating phonies. Having these words back to back is like the hard part. Like, if you just gave me one word at a time, it's not that hard, but it becomes like a fucking tongue twister. I'm gonna try this again. The sad truth is, it isn't hard to be fooled by politicians and other crooks who are disguised as honest, hard-working business people. But if you follow a few tips in this chapter, you'll have a good chance of spotting the self-involved, unethical, prevaricating phonies who inhabit the head offices at far too many companies. What we're looking for is a leader, someone who is going to take our company to the moon, someone who lives and breathes this company, someone who has a big, audacious goal that he wants to drive the business to achieve. If we get someone like that, who's honest with you about what's going on, we can sit back and watch miracles happen. If we get the wrong guy, we can easily get enrolled or world connected, get enrolled or world connect. Why is it spelled like that? Why are these randomly capitalized? If we get the wrong guy, we can easily get enrolled. What does that mean? What is ENRONNED? But it's capitalized? Why is it capitalized? I don't like this. No, not enrolled. Enrolled. Enrond. Not enrolled. Enrond. 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 No, it's right here. It's not enrolled. It's enrond. That's what I'm saying. This is not a fucking word. What is enrond? Are word connected? World conned. Enrond are world conned. No, these aren't real words. He made these words up. I think he made these words up. I'm pretty sure he fucking made these words up. These words are fucking made up. Enrond are world conned. Those are the words, and they're capitalized. They're To each his own. It's your book, man. It's your book, but I would suggest not doing shit like that. Just because I think you're gonna infuriate people and trying to figure out what the fuck you're trying to say. And then they're not gonna want to keep reading. The good news is the clues are easy to spot, and we're not sure we don't invest, and if we are not sure we don't invest, same as always. The good news is the clues are easy to spot, and if we're not sure, we don't invest. Same as always. I was reading that without the periods and stuff. Sorry about that. How venture capitalists... Oh, I'm going to get rid of this so I can see this again. How venture capitalists gamble smartly. Venture capitalists invest in companies before the firms offer their stock to the general public. At one point, I had about 20 million investments in venture capital deals. I stopped doing so much VC because it was hard work and risky. I don't like hard work, and I don't like risky. It's just as much easier and so much less risky to do rule number 1 investment than VC investing. The basic idea of VC investing is to find potential wonderful companies, buy it at an attractive price, and then keep it forever, or at least until you can sell it at the IPO. Sound familiar? See? The basic idea of investing that Ben Graham taught 70 years ago applied to all kinds of investing, including VC investing. The reasons I'm mentioning venture capital here isn't so you can learn to be a venture capitalist. I want to teach you the single most critical aspect of venture capital type investing, betting on the jockey. VC investing is all about investing at such an early stage that you can really be certain it's all going to work out. You can't look at the big 5 numbers and see consistency because there is no big 5. The business isn't even selling anything yet. Worse, sometimes the business is so new and cutting edge that there isn't even an industry to understand. Because of the lack of any support of track record, my venture capitalist partners bet on the management team at least as much as they did on the business plan. Sometimes we spoke of betting on the jockey at least as much as the horse. The reason you need to learn this as a business buyer is that in every business you buy, the CEO, the guy or gal who's guiding the business, determines whether you're being lied to now and whether you'll be lied to in the future. In the long run, knowing you're going to get the truth about the state of the business is almost as important as the business itself. One of the main reasons I want to own a specific business is that I like and trust the people who run it. This is so important when investing during the early stages of a business that most venture capitalists put it right at the top of their list of essentials a business must have: a CEO they trust and with whom they want to work. If the company doesn't have a great CEO, many early stage technology startups are run by a technology wizard who has no experience running a $50 million company. VCs hold up funding until a great CEO can be found to join the team. VCs aren't willing to bet on even the world's greatest technology unless they have faith in the person who's going to guide the business to success. Wow. Who are we looking for? I love putting my money on a great jockey, a great CEO. There's nothing better for sleeping well at night than knowing that some honest owner-orientated and driven person is out there thinking about how to make me money. Author and business researcher Jim Collins thinks so too. In his book, Good to Great, New York, HarperCollins, 2001. Oh, we got a book. We got another book. Bing, 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 bing. Okay, I'm going to go to my book section. People to know. I think it's before that. Book list. And I need my pen. Okay. And this is Good to Great. New York, HarperCollins. I don't know why it's... Those are in, like, not parentheses, but, like, you know, Collins. New York's HarperCollins. Author and business researcher Jim Collins. Wait, is it, so it's by Jim Collins? Wonder HarperCollins has to be his wife or something. Okay. Author and business researcher Jim Collins thinks so too. In his book Good to Great, New York, HarperCollins, 2001, Collins maintains that the CEOs who move their companies into greatness, much to the benefit of the owners, obviously, are almost all what he calls level 5 leaders. Collins goes on to explain that a level 5 leader is one who channels his ego needs away from himself and into the larger goal of building a great company. A fully developed level 5 leader builds enduring greatness through a paradoxical blend of personal humility and professional will. I'll paraphrase for you what I think are the most important qualities of a level 5 leader it comes down to. 1. Owner-orientated. 2. Driven. An owner-orientated CEO. What exactly does owner-orientated mean? And how would we know if a particular CEO fits the bill? An owner-oriented CEO is one who has his personal interests directly aligned with the shareholders of the business, the owners. Microsoft Bill Gates and Steve Ballmer see themselves as owner-orientated and run the company accordingly. Here's an excerpt from their 2002 shareholder letter. The idea that you, as an investor, are marrying the CEO isn't such a bad metaphor. Don't marry anyone unless you know and agree with how they are spending your money. For the two of us, the vast majority of our individual net worth is invested in stock ownership of the business. Since Microsoft went public in 1986, we have never taken stock options, and we never will. We hope this provides further assistance that our personal interests are directly aligned with the long-term interests of all shareholders. Mr. Gates and Mr. Ballmer are making an important point about being owner-orientated execs versus speculators. If the top officers get stock options, in effect they become speculators who benefit if the stock price goes up, even if it goes up only for a short time, during which they can exercise their options. The fact it causes many executives to make bad long-term decisions benefiting the stock price in the short run. By not accepting stock options, Gates and Ballmer are saying, in effect, that as the company's top officers and, of course, shareholding owners, they intend to run the business for the benefit of long-term owners like themselves. This outlook is very rule number 1 in its perspective, and probably lies in the heart of Mr. Gates' friendship with Mr. Buffett. Warren Buffett clarifies this point when he describes how an owner-oriented CEO should run his business. As he said in his 2004 shareholder letter, "My message to the CEOs is simple. Run your business as if it were the only asset your family will own over the next 100 years. Since talk is cheap, one of the ways we can tell if a CEO is walking the walk is to find out if he's telling us what, as owners, we need to know to be properly informed about our business. Tell me what I need to know." It's tough for some CEOs to tell us owners what we need to know because they're afraid of looking bad or creating bigger problems by going public. As a result, we owners get these nice letters at the end of the year that never indicates a problem, and then we wake up one morning to discover there were indeed huge problems that had been mounting for a long time. Can you really ever know if the people running the company are honest and telling you everything you need to know? Well, answer this. Can you ever really know if your spouse is cheating on you? Some of us would have answered yes to that question, only to find out later we were mistaken. On balance, it seems logical to conclude that a CEO is capable of breaching our trust and hiding important information if he wants to. The best we can do is to pick CEOs who seem to be acting as if the company were the only asset their family will own for the next 100 years. Here's a great example of a CEO who's spelling it out. This is from Whole Foods CEO John McKay's 2002 letter on shareholders. Question: what are the main challenges you see for 2003? Answer: the biggest challenge for Whole Foods market in 2003 will be to continue to improve our operations. We do not expect to sustain the excellent 10% comps we saw this year. The Harry stores will have a negative impact as they enter our comp base as the beginning of this year, and we will be up against very tough comparisons. However, we are hopeful that when the economy rebounds, we will maintain our high transaction count and see further increase in our average basket size. In order to keep increasing our market share, we will have to continue to learn and improve faster than our competitors. Our second biggest challenge will be to increase the number of stores we have in development. Our standard real estate goal has been to add 15 to 20 new and acquired stores to our store base each year. We have not always been successful at meeting this goal, and the main reason has been that we have not been adding enough stores to our development pipeline. We take a very disciplined approach to real estate and are unwilling to sacrifice our high standards merely to achieve an aberrational goal target. Nevertheless, it is important to our shareholder that we grow both through strong sales as existing stores and through adding square footage. Therefore, we must increase the number of stores that we have in development while simultaneously maintaining our real estate discipline. To achieve this goal, we have bolstered our real estate team and are devoting more resources to new store developments. Our third challenge is to successfully integrate the Harry stores in the company. It is important that in 2003 we reverse the sales decline in Harry's. The store is remodeled, and the further integration of our store corporate culture will upgrade the quality of the customer shopping experience, and we hope to see positive comps before our second year of ownership is complete. One of the most exciting things about Whole Foods Market is that as successful as we have been, there are still so many areas of opportunity to which to improve. Note that Mr. McKee highlights the great question I always want an answer to. What kind of speed bumps are in the way next year? And he gives me the answer. He doesn't expect to sustain the 10% comps. He's got problems integrating Harry's stores in a chain that Whole Foods acquired. He's hoping for an economic rebound to help out, and he's got to build more stores without hurting standards to keep guys like me happy. This is an excerpt from Warren Buffett's 2004 letter to shareholders. It's representative to the tone of his letter for the last 20 years. Last year, Berkshire's book value gain of 10.5% fell short of the index of 10.9% return. Our lackluster performance was not due to stumbles by the CEOs of our operating businesses. As always, they pulled more than their share of the load. My message to them is simply, run your business as if it were the only asset your family will own over the next 100 years. Almost invariably, they do just that, and after taking care of their needs of the business, send excess cash to Omaha for me to deploy. For me to deploy. That sounds so funny. I didn't do that job very well last year. My hope was to make several multi-billion-dollar acquisitions that would add new and significant streams of earnings to the many we already have, but I struck out. Additionally, I found very few attractive securities to buy. Berkshire therefore ended the year with $43 billion of cash equivalents. Not a happy position. Charlie and I will work to translate some of these hoard into more interesting assets during 2005, though we can't promise success. He spells out that what went wrong last year, whose fault it was, and what he's hoping to do in the current year. My kind of jockey. Driven. The second quality of a great CEO is that he or she is driven to change the world in some small and cool way, although a big and cool way is okay too. I call the thing a CEO wants to make happen his BAG, Big Audacious Goal, which is an acronym originally coined by Collins. He called it a PAG, short for Big Hairy Audacious Goal. CEOs who have a bag use it to fire themselves up so much that they can't wait to come to work every day. Even if they, like Buffett, Gates, and Mickey, are already rich, the bag also tells everyone in the organization the most important things to focus on every day. It becomes the company's vision, or at least the CEO hopes it does. And if the bag is a good one, it can drive the business for years. The bag doesn't have to be as world-changing as John McKee's desire to have whole food, whole people, whole world. Mr. Buffett seems to be driven quite nicely just by his audacious attempts to keep Berkshire Hathaway returns in the plus 20% range. Darwin Smith's bag, as Kimberly Clark is another great example of a fighting jockey riding an outrageously difficult horse who managed to win the race, and the payoff was huge. When he arrived on the screen at Kimberly Clark as its leader in 1971, the Neenah, Wisconsin-based company was already nearly 100 years old. He wanted to turn his company into the best paper products businesses in the world. Think toilet paper, tissues. Think toilet paper, tissues, diapers, paper towels, the practical materials we see and use every day in washrooms, workplace, hotels, and our own homes. And yes, they're the markers of Kleenex. The only obstacle stopping him was the giant Procter & Gamble, which also made consumer products. It took Mr. Smith a while, but during his 20-year tenure as CEO, he inspired Kimberly Clark to climb the mountain, and he made the business owners millions. When Steve Jobs started Apple Computer, his bag was to fight the evil empire of IBM with inventions that people could use without a manual. His bag challenge to Apple was to make the goods cool for the consumer. His vision of cool resulted in the Apple, the Lisa computer, the Macintosh, the Next, the iPod, and, at Pixar, movies like Toy Story, Finding Nemo, and The Incredibles. The guy is worth more than $1 billion, and still he goes to work every day because he's driven by his bag. As investors, we gotta love really smart rich guys out there who are killing themselves and making us rich in the process. I mean, who could be upset with that? I want a bag. I really do. I've been trying to figure out mine. But you know, the best I got is that I just want to be comfortable and I just want to feel like I can help the world. I just want to be able to, like, give money freely to people. And I want to, like, set up some kind of, like, support for people experiencing homelessness or, like, drug addictions and stuff like that. I don't know, just some small goals, okay? They're just baby goals. I'm gonna do that through investing. Let's go. Let's go. Find the bag. So how do you know if the CEO has a bag that's going to drive him or her? Put it like this. If they aren't in your face telling you what the bag is, they probably don't have one. They probably just have mission statements. Lots of companies have mission statements that sound as if they have a big goal. But a bag isn't about a mission statement. It's what's driving the CEO. If the CEO isn't driven, the company's mission statement can be hot air. As you'll find out below, an effective way to detect hot air is to compare a company's numbers, its growing rates in ROC, with what the CEO says in his letters to shareholders. At the end of the chapter, I'll call your attention to some particular outrageous examples of hot air blowing. How do you know if a CEO is driven? You go online and Google the CEO's name. Fast Company, Business Week, Forbes, Fortune, and the Wall Street Journal have charged reports with the task of digging up stories on CEOs. Learning who these corporate chieftains are and how they run a business is what these reporters are all about. And the beauty of this is that you can get all these stories with a mouse click. Think about it. You have at your fingertips an all-star Renaissance team that's already put together all the information about the CEO you'll ever need to decide if he or she is the kind of person you want to invest with. While many, if not most, articles tend to be puff pieces, you can get a lot of clues from a well-researched article. When Jim Collins was doing his research for Good to Great, one of his search methodologies was to read the articles written on CEOs with an eye for terms like humble and self-efficiency. He found that great CEOs usually negate their own contributions and gave praise and credit to others. The difference between a CEO who is in it for himself and one who is in it for the bag is often detectable even in a complimentary article. Once you're reading the articles, read his or her annual letter to shareholders or company websites. Again, you're looking for a CEO who's telling you what you need to know. They usually put their bag in their letters too. After you read the articles and letters, you have to decide whether it is all talk or whether they're they are walking the walk. If you'd be proud to own the business, you'd understand the business. And the big 5 number points to the great moat. You're in a pretty good position to make an informed decision about whether the CEO is level 5 or not. But I have 2 or more little tricks that can help. 1. Check out insider trading activities. And 2. Consider the CEO compensation. Ooh, how much money he getting paid. Let an online search engine like Google do the heavy lifting and pull up articles on your jockey. Read to find out all you ever wanted to know about companies, CEOs. You can also try the following websites. I think this is a note-taking moment. Because we're gonna need to go and look these websites up. Okay. Researching. Here's my research paper. Okay. www.forbes.com, www.business week.com, www.fortune.com, www.fastcompany.com, www.wsj.com. We'll check those out in another video. Ah! Got my eye. Insider trading. Remember, if the CEO is a level 5, she should be I like how that doesn't really matter. Interchangeable. Should be treating this business as if it were the only asset her family will own over the next 100 years. So here's a question. If it's her only asset for 100 years, why should she sell off pieces of it unless she has to? When a CEO or anyone in the company who has access to non-public information about the company buys or sells stocks in her own company, it's called insider trading. You'll see it listed among the data available on financial websites. At MSN Money, for example, it's listed under research. Insider trading is... Oh, I'm going to write that down too, actually. I'm going to go... to my notes about MSN Money. And what is this? Oh. Insider trading. It's under research. Okay. Insider trading is legal if the CEO notifies the Secretaries and Exchange Commission's SEC that she's doing it within 48 hours of the sale. Insider trading is one of the great tip-offs that something good or bad is about to happen. The reason being that a CEO often knows months in advance what's going to happen. And if she's not in for the long run, she's liable to cut her losses and sell her stock. Or if something truly wonderful is about to happen, the company, she'll move in and buy up stocks in preparation for really great returns. Warren Buffett is an extreme case when it comes to CEO insider trading. To my knowledge, in 40 years of investing, Mr. Buffett has never sold a single share of Berkshire Hathaway stock. Other CEOs are not so attached. Just before Enron crushed from 60 to 0, the chairman, CEO, and CFO were all unloading their shares of Enron stock, even while they were telling their employees to buy more. Mr. Buffett doesn't sell his stocks in other companies, and when he does, you'll better be heading for the hills too. The sale of stocks by company officials isn't always a red flag. For example, Bill Gates sells Microsoft stock to fund various charities and other investments. So does John Mackey and Whole Foods. But if you look at the total amount of stocks they own, you can see that the vast majority of their personal wealth is invested in this business. Just as with Mr. Buffett, there isn't a perfect way to gauge when some insider sales are too many insider sales. You have to use common sense. If most of the company's executives are unloading more than 30% of their stock all at once, that's probably not a good sign. As I've said, common sense. I once considered buying into a famous financial business until I noticed that the chairman of the board and the CEO were unloading more than 50% of their shares. I didn't buy, and later the company's stock price dropped like a brick. You'll read that there are lots of reasons why people sell their stocks, but if everyone is doing it, get a clue. And you'll also read that there's only one reason execs buy stocks, because it's going to go up. But that's not true either. Lots of times, companies' officials will buy stocks just to show their support. They'll even go as far as to try to shore up a stock drop, especially if the business is relatively small and a few strategic purchases would impact the price. But when insiders are more mortgaging their children to buy stock to full mortgaging. See, I think he's making up these words. I'm gonna Google this word. Mortgaging. Learn what mortgaging, not gagging, mortgaging their children to buy stocks at full retail. There's a serious clue that something good is about to happen. A good insider trading website shows the shares being sold and the total shares owned, but not all sites share this information. MSN, for example, reveals how many shares an officer still owns remaining shares. If you click on the insider trading while on a company's stock information page and then click on any officer's name, you'll also see how much a certain recent sale of stock was worth. At Yahoo Finance, click on Insider Roster while on the main stock page of a company and you'll get the number of shares owned by major stock shareholders. Then click the Insider Transitions to see who's selling or buying. Vickers, or www.vickersstock.com, does a better job all in one place, but it's a subscription site. Check around to other sites and see what you can find. Some may offer free trial periods. I'll talk more about the insider trading in a later chapter where I show you how to access this information alongside the other tools you'll find online. For now, just note that sudden buying or selling of the CEO might signal that he or she has decided the 100 years are over. Ooh, wow. I'm deciding if technically, I think I should still be reading for another 20 minutes. But my voice is getting... Floop. Okay, let's keep doing this. Another 20 minutes. It's not much longer. Looking at the CEO's compensation. Another way to evaluate whether management is on our side is to view the compensation paid to the CEO. Virtually every CEO who works for Mr. Buffett, and the exemplar I keep going back to, is a multi-millionaire. So why do they go to work and work hard? The same reason Mr. Buffett does, the same reason Bill Gates does, because they love doing what they do. It isn't about the money, although they certainly expect to be well paid for doing good work. It's about the challenge of making their business successful. Steve Jobs came back to Apple Computer in 1997 and accepted a salary of $1 per year, working without receiving either stock or options, just so he could put the baby he created, the one politician-style CEOs were destroying, back on track. Once he returned Apple to the spotlight, he started taking more compensation. Mr. Buffett works for $100,000 a year. Beyond that honorarium, his compensation is exactly the same as that which is received by his shareholders, i.e., whatever the appreciation is of Berkshire Hathaway in a given year. Whatever the appreciation of Berkshire Hathaway is. Oh, it's a joke. I love this kind of CEO because he's on my side. Where do we find the CEO salary listed? In annual reports. So we go to the business's website, download its latest annual report, and go to the table of contents. Look for executive compensation. Try Part 3. We can also get to these annual reports on both Yahoo Finance and MSN by clicking the SEC filings and then selecting 10K, the annual report. If you subscribe to Edgar Online, it comes right up. Okay, so I think this is another one that we need to write down. Because we need CEO's salary download the latest annual report and go to the table of contents. Look for executive. Oh, it's SEC filings. And then 10K. Okay, cool. Oh yeah! Okay. What was I doing? Okay, 10 more minutes. Unfortunately, there's another kind of CEO out there, one who wouldn't get up to go to work in the morning if he didn't have his outrageous perks and cozy deal with the board of directors to get paid an enormous amount of money. These CEOs aren't running businesses with clearly defined bags in mind because they don't have any. They aren't running businesses because they love it. They aren't corporate parrots like Buffett, Jobs, and Gates, leaders who love their businesses. They're mercenaries, fast guns for hire, and just like actual mercenaries, their loyalty to the cause goes about as deep as the depth of their paychecks. If the business is in real trouble, their chief concern will be escaping with a pile of gold. Recent corporate debacles such as those involving Tycoon Enron and WorldCom have in common massive overcompensation deals for the company's top executives. Oof, that didn't want to come out. Because I see myself as the sole owner of any business, I own a piece of it. I view the money these CEOs take as coming straight out of my pocket, and I don't like it. To a rule number one investor, these CEOs and the boards of directors that support them are out-of-control mercenaries who deserve nothing but contempt and termination. Throwing the bums out is, of course, not so easy. Many of these scoundrels have put in place a poison pill, a contract between the board of directors and the company's top executives that guarantees an insane payoff if the owners, i.e. shareholders, ever sell against their wishes. These selfish deals make it incredibly difficult for the owners to do anything other than stand by and be taken advantage of. The following are all actual cases, names withheld, of rape performed by mercenary CEOs and unethical boards within the last few years. Ooh, from 2000. This is like the tea. This is like tycoon, rich people, investing business people tea. From 2000 to 2004, one CEO's compensation was $40 million, while the owners were wiped out. Another group of owners lost 80% of their equity and still were forced by the board to pay the CEO more than $20 million for hitting one quarter's target. The value of another business dropped 40%, but the board paid out more than $70 million to the CEO for the fine job he did. Another huge business lost 70% of its value and a large piece of its market to oversee competitors of the last 5 years and still paid its CEO more than $40 million. It would be one thing if the businesses were stuck in a contract and had to pay this out, even after firing the guy, but these people were paid these insane amounts of bonuses for good work well done. How crazy is that? The primary fault does not lie with the CEO. He is who he is. The main problem is with the boards of directors, who are paid principally to put the right guy in the top position and compensate him or her in a way that encourages the CEO to act in the best interest of the owners. Boards have had a hard time doing that lately. Many have long ago forgotten who the owners are. Perhaps that's why they call us shareholders as opposed to owners, to keep from reminding us that we actually own the business. We're not going to buy any businesses if we don't like the management enough. Simply as that. And one of the main reasons to dislike management is if they're getting overpaid. One key way management gets overpaid, for example, is with stock options. Stock options don't cost the manager anything. They're an award from the business. giving the manager the right to buy company stock at a set price at some time in the future. The idea is awarding stock options is to incentivize the manager to drive up the stock price to make the options worth something. Let's take an example. Say I want to hire Mr. Slick to be my CEO, and the stock price is at $30 a share. I give Slick an option to buy 1 million shares of the business at 30. If he can get that stock to go up to 40, he'll make 10 million. He has no downside risk since he didn't pay anything for the options. Those options will, of course, also come with a nice fat paycheck. Once he can't be certain he can make the stock go up, other things in this world begin being influential. Nice deal, especially since Slick knows that 4% inflation might move the stock up to 40 in 7 years if he does nothing but maintain the status quo. Sweet, except for the owners, us, we get screwed. 1 million share pieces of our pie went to this guy for nothing. Our return means nothing if it only keeps pace with inflation. The worst part of the options craziness taking place in the unscrupulous companies is that until recently, this expense to the owners wasn't even called an expense. The CEOs got the options and the business didn't have to take a hit to the bottom line. Only the owners took the hit in the form of a loss of piece of what they owned. But if that isn't a loss, what is? As of this writing, Congress is looking at passing a law that forces businesses to expense options grants so that the money isn't just slipped out of the back pocket of the owners without the business reporting it as an expense. The reason many businesses don't want to report this dilution as an expense is that it'll make their short-term earnings look bad compared with the years before when they didn't have to take that expense. They complain to their congressman who owes them for donating money to his campaign. The CEOs wave checks and son of a gun, the law gets hung up. Here's what Mr. Buffett has to say about that. Wow. Oh, wow. I'm gonna stop there. We're gonna stop there. I'm excited to read what Mr. Buffett says, though. Okay, we're 40% in, page 125 out of 324. Okay. I think technically no, it's fine. Alright, anyways, I will see you tomorrow, night bright and shiny early, and until then, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye!